G'day. Today we're doing a bit of work on a grand Jeep Cherokee. 8-speed auto, the ZF8HP45. We just have a quick inspection, make sure there's no oil leaks or anything obviously wrong there. We're going to have to whiz off that cover and just have a better look. And it doesn't look too bad. Now these have the plastic pan with the filter incorporated in the pan. My advice would be, if you're doing this, would be to take off these front bolts first before you take any of this off. The reason being is that these are in a very awkward spot here. If you can't get them out, you won't be able to get the pan out. So start off with the most difficult ones to remove and then work from there. And also it's a good idea to just let the whole thing cool right down before you take this plastic pan off. So I'll just drain the oil out of here. That'll allow it to cool down a little bit quicker as well. 10mm Allen key. And to get better access to those bolts at the front there, what you can do is lift the back of the transmission up. You can whiz off these two rear cross member bolts there and just jack it up there, or put a bit of block of wood or something under there just to hold it up, and that'll give you a tiny bit more room at the front there. And now we can just jack it up a bit, and you can see there's a little bit more room there. Now you can put a block of wood in there or something just so it doesn't come down. Also you can move this other jack, and that'll give you a bit more access here in the front. So T40 Torx Plus 30 will fit in there, or T40 just a normal Torx. So whichever one fits more snugly there for you, that's a Torx Plus 30. Now to get this one out here, you actually need to flex these cooling lines a little bit just to be able to get it out. And we've got them all out there, you can see. Now we can just whiz off the rest of them. And you've just got to wriggle it off that filter neck there. And there's a filter in there. And you can see where the magnets are. They're thoroughly covered in that metallic swarf. This one's done about 125,000 kilometres. Now, just something to look out for. With these kits, filter kits, it's got the pan with the filter incorporated in it. You can buy an aftermarket one, and I've got another video there that shows the quality of the Dacron material in the filter, if you care to have a look. Whenever I can, I prefer install the OEM ones. They are an expensive transmission to recondition, so for the sake of a few extra bucks, peace of mind. But the way you can tell whether it's an OEM or a aftermarket one is that the OEMs have 4 magnets on them. 1, 2, 3, 4. The aftermarket ones just have these 2 up here. And also I think it's got these little part numbers and the, what do they call them, QR code jiggers on there. And you also get your new bolts in there as well. Now there is also a sequence of tightening these pans. That's just a generic one. I don't know why they haven't got the 8HP45 in there, but there is a sequence of tightening it because they have this quite raised rubber seal on there. Just be aware, these transmissions, they actually have a thermal valve, and what that actually means is there's a recirculation valve. When the transmission's cold, it won't actually go through these lines to the cooler. It'll just recirculate through the transmission until it gets to a certain temperature, and then it'll open up and allow it to cool through the cooler. When you're checking the oil level, you've got to make sure that the thermal valve opens up completely, and then you've got to let it cool down to get back down to the temperature to check the oil level. Otherwise you might have an airlock in there, and that'll just open up when it warms up, and then your fluid level will be too low. But what you can do, I'll show you online. Sonax have a kit where you can bypass that valve completely, the thermal valve, and you just have a full cooling flow. We're on the Sonax website, and you can see that the same kit will do quite a few other transmissions, and that's basically what it is. It just allows the oil to flow straight through instead of recirculating. And here I'm on another website called drivingline.com, and that actually shows what the valve looks like, the thermal valve. That's the upgrade valve that allows full flow, and it actually shows you how to do it. But this is the diagram where you show the comparison. It's a good, beautiful diagram this modification does. It blocks off that little port there, which is circulating just within the transmission, and it just allows the oil to go around that thinner part of that valve and through the cooler. And there you can see it there. You can see the thermal valve in there, and you can see that it's open. A little bit hard to explain without diagrams, but drivingline.com if you want to see all that information, and it's a little bit of an explanation of how it works. Now to put the filter back on, always check that it's got the O-ring there. Sometimes, very rarely, but it can happen. They don't have the O-ring there, and it's a good idea to smear a bit of oil on there just so it pops in easier, because you're actually aligning everything up. A little bit difficult sometimes to get that in. And we're also adding the LiFeGuard Platinum product. We pour it into the filter there. Reason being, because we've got to tilt that pan a little bit to get it up, it's a lot easier to pour it in like that into the pan. It'll give us a little bit of time to tilt that before all that oil runs down up this end. And what these additives do, improves the properties of the transmission fluid, and also helps keep everything running cooler. There is another product called the Red. The best one would be the Platinum, and it has to be compatible with the fluid that you're putting in. In this transmission, we're putting the Tritech low viscosity fluid that is compatible with the LIFEGUARD 8. Now we only tighten it up to the rubber seal, so the whole pan's loose, and you also want to put all the bolts in before you start tightening it up, or you might end up finding that you've misaligned the bolt hole slightly, and pain in the bum getting it off or getting it back on. Anyway, now it's a good idea to just have a screwdriver pushing that up while you're tightening it. You don't want to wreck the Torx head if you ever need to take this off. So you've got to support that, make sure it's pushing up nicely because of the limited space. That one's tight. And we're putting in there's a little plug on the side there, that's where the filler is. We're putting in the Tritech low viscosity fluid. Penrite have an equivalent, LIFEGUARD 8, or you can get it off the dealer. We're just going to fill it till it just starts to trickle out of there. Put the plug on, start it just for a moment. Just let that pump the oil through, and then we'll fill it up again, just till it's trickling out the side there. And then we might need to do that a couple of times. And because this one's still got the thermal valve on it, we need to get it to operating temperature so that thermal valve can open, and then we'll have to let it cool down so we can check the oil level. You don't want to have the oil overfilled or underfilled. If it's overfilled, it can hit the spinning parts and aerate the oil and give you a similar problem as if you haven't got enough oil in it. Start for a moment, turn it off, you can keep filling it now. You just need to do that a few times. There we go. Now we can go through the gears. And you just want to have it trickling out through that filler plug. Toggled onto the transmission temperature there, and you can see it's on 41 degrees. You can either do it that way, or you can do it with a scan tool and get the temperature of the transmission. But what we have to do is get it to operating temperature, go for a run, and let that thermal valve open, purge any air out of it, and then we've got to let it cool down again, and then check the fluid level at the correct temperature. Now we've done a stall test. In reverse we got up to 2.5 or 2,750 revs. A bit of a problem in forward. We've got a stall test in drive to about 3,500 revs, and we also got the temperature up to about 83 degrees doing that. And now we've got to let it cool down and check the oil between 30 and 50 degrees. If you check it overheated, then the expanded oil will come out. When the transmission cools down, you'll find you're low on fluid again. But at least that thermal valve would have had a chance to open right up now. And now we've got to just let it cool down. It's even going up high there, see, while it's idling. You can see the importance of having an auxiliary transmission oil cooler. There we go, we've checked the oil level at about 45 degrees. It took ages for it to cool down again. So we've got a 32 degree day. And we've put all the covers back on. Double check everything, double check your work that you haven't forgotten anything. Make sure you do that little side plug up properly. Anyway, I hope that helps. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave any comments or suggestions in the section below. And don't forget to throw me a beer if any of this information helps. Thank you for watching.